Okay, so right off the bat, I am so sorry. Let me ask you a question. Do you like tabletop RPGs? Who are we kidding? Of course you do. Damn, the whole reason you came here is probably because you are bored out of your mind and all the amazing creators out there couldn't satisfy your insatiable hunger. D&D 5e is a great game. People love it for a reason. But there are several other great RPG settings that seem to disappear underneath the fantasy goodness of Gary Gygax's greatest role-playing game ever. But they are great nonetheless. And as an ode to my own hypocrisy, I will start off with presenting a game that already had light shed on it by one of the most well-known and greatest D&D content creators of all time. So let me ask you another question. Do teenagers scare the living shit out of you? Because if they do, gee golly gosh, you are gonna be scarred for life. Monsterhearts 2nd edition is a highly roleplay based game, inspired by the urban fantasy and supernatural romances of No! 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 In this game, you play as a teenager who feels like a monster. Mostly because they are, in fact, a monster. Though the book does state that these are to be understood metaphorically, with monster being a metaphor for any sort of mental struggle. Boy, oh boy, aren't we a rain of sunshine today! In fact, the whole game wanders into dangerous emotional territories. So dangerous in fact that the book states the game master, or as it is called here, Master of Ceremonies, is supposed to prepare an emotional safe word in case someone feels uncomfortable because reliving the best days of our lives got way too real all of a sudden. But guess what? You don't have to be a teenager in order to experience mental breakdowns and people stabbing you in the back. High school never ends. You can just be Jerry from accounting, who secretly made a pact with an eldritch monstrosity and now is ready to devour the known universe. Having said that, while being mostly roleplay based with almost non-existent combat, Monsterhearts still requires dice rolls. Keep your goblins inside though, because unlike other RPGs, you don't need 30 million sets, just 2 basic casino dice. And the MC also has to do considerably less math because difficulty class is not a thing, and you immediately know whether you fail, succeed with consequences, or just straight up do the most badass thing ever and walk away like the absolute demigod you are. The only things you add to these rolls are the modifiers of your abilities, which are as follows. Hot used to turn someone on with your big bard energy. Cold used to either shut someone down with your sick burns or keep your cool when you are getting those burns. Volatile used either to lash out and kick someone in the crotch or run away like the coward you are. And Dark used to gaze into the abyss and get that vision softly creeping within the sound of silence. Now, Volatile may seem the best choice for all you wargamers, but don't get too into it because there are no hit points in this game, so if you get punched in the face 4 times, you die indifferently. You may think you are bulletproof, but I'm blessed and so are you. And there is exactly one collectible, known as strings. Strings are meant to symbolize your bond with someone, and you can use them, or more appropriately, pull them in order to either help people deal with their problems or manipulate them into doing whatever you want like an absolute. Monsterhearts 2 does put a lot of accent into creating your character, but building a character in this game is much more like writing one for a TV show, with XP showing emotional growth and levels showing character development, often using traditional tropes. One such trope is that everyone has a darkest self, which basically means you are not an actual monster until something triggers your monster powers. This could be being hurt emotionally, being hurt physically to the point where you mentally snap, or just coming out as a werewolf because you can. Even though the moment you reveal your true edgy form to people around you, they will likely try and murder you with fire. The other ability every character has is called a sex move. Pro tip: if your players are on the level of a 12-year-old and cannot take anything maturely, I am looking at you, call this the intimacy move. It's a small thing you can do after leveling up your relationship with someone from an extremely intimate interaction, such as saving their life or holding hands before marriage. Disgusting! Anyway, you can also decide to join the Black Parade and find a group of monsters similar to you, because the only thing better than brooding is brooding in a team. You can decide exactly what archetype of edgy you want to be by choosing one of the 10 main skins, which, unlike in most games, actually do something. You can be a fae, charming people left and right, making contracts with people in order to screw them over later, and being awesome no matter what everyone says. Or a ghost, being a symbol for traumatic events and social anxiety, stalking people, going through walls, turning invisible when you're sad, and having cemetery drives while singing about how much of a creep you are. Next up is the ghoul, being non-stop hungry, basically immortal, and asking people repeatedly if they know how the story ends. Or a hollow, being a robot learning how to be human while reenacting Frankenstein, Edward Scissorhands, and that one awkward Nickelodeon show I am not talking about. An infernal, if you can't let go of your tieflings and warlocks and despite everyone warning you, you decided to make a deal with the devil. A mortal, for when you don't want to be a monster in a game called Monsterhearts, and instead you just want to have a crush on a monster, potentially turning into a yandere. The queen, wanting it all and having mind control powers, servants following your every step, enemies biting the dust, and of course, having a built-in remedy. For Khrushchev and Kennedy. She's a killer queen. The next two would be a vampire and a werewolf, but you already know how those work from— No! Get out! And as for you— Okay, you can stay, but I'm watching. Finally, you can be a witch, learning super duper cool magic spells from either grimoires, metal albums, or the most powerful source of dark magic, Tumblr. There are several other classes, skins you can choose from, presented by the publisher, buried without ceremony, the same way Wizards of the Coast publishes Unearthed Arcana. And I am just going to ignore every single one of these. Except for one. The Champion. Because this skin makes you a teenage Doomslayer. That's why. Proving once again that the real hero is flawless and xenophobic. Vampires will never hurt you, but you sure as hell are gonna hurt them. For all the aspiring MCs out there, your job this time is to write something interesting. It might sound easier because you won't have to spend time with balancing and stat blocks, but do keep in mind that if a player sits down for a story-based game, they will want something really unique, and you can't really blind them with funny goblins this time. If you start MCing Monsterhearts, make sure you already know what kind of story you are going for. You could go for the brutal, tense feel of True Blood, or the mystery romance of Sabrina, or even the more light-hearted, occasionally terrifying feeling of Gravity Falls. Then make some well-written NPCs, because in a game like this, there are no minor characters. They will want to talk with everyone. Finally, make sure that all your players are comfortable with everything happening. Describing everything might be uncomfortable for some people, especially if the things described this time around are not sugar-coated with Tolkien-esque poetic obscurity. Well, that's about it. Have fun, go easy with the sparkles, and don't stop hating your hometown.